think it's very important that every instructor has a philosophy for themselves, that they should know why they exist as a teacher, what they want to accomplish overall, not necessarily specifically in their classes. So I like to have a mantra. I believe that it's important for me to have direction. So my mantra is empowering students, whatever that means in the classroom, out of the classroom. And with that, it's important to build systems. I'm a systems thinker, and I think it's very important that we build habits and that we build systems around our teaching and our lives in general, so that we can tweak the system to create success rather than reinventing the wheel often. And so to do that, I use a tool that I call the Lecture Success Tool, and it's just a document, a spreadsheet of sorts that has different categories. So if I was teaching on entrepreneurship and say I wanted to teach someone to write a business plan, I might break that spreadsheet down by the chapters or the sections of the business plan, and for each section, it's kind of related to our outcomes, our student learning outcomes, but for each section I might have a video that reference that would teach a student about that section. I would have an activity designed around that section, maybe a cartoon or something funny or an anecdote that I could share with the students about that section to make them remember it. And so I keep all of those resources in a file so that every time I teach on business plan writing, I don't have to try to remember what I did last time, and so that I can reference this lecture success tool, and that's my way of creating a system for that class. I think it's important when we're developing students to become certain things, mainly for vocations. I'm a business instructor, so if I want to teach someone to become a manager or to become an entrepreneur, I think it's extremely important to model what those things are. So if a manager has certain traits or behaviors, I may be the only person that they see that is in management, so it's important for me to model certain behaviors. It might be the way I dress, it might be the way I speak, it might be that I shake their hand when they enter the classroom, but it's important to do modeling for students, and that goes from class management to attire again, and also our interactions. So often in my classes it doesn't feel like an educational setting, it feels more like a casual business setting, where I'll often have students who are dressing up just for the sake of dressing up, not because I've asked them to, but because they're getting into that way of behavior, that way of life, and learning to be comfortable in business clothes, learning to be comfortable shaking people's hands, learning to be comfortable speaking in front of others. And so conducting a class that is similar to the way the students will be expected to behave in their occupations is extremely important. With that, we write it right into the syllabus so that certain things are expected and that students know about them ahead of time. And it might be anything from letting a student know that they will be expected to share their thoughts on an idea spur of the moment, or it might be written into the syllabus that we expect students to shake each other's hands upon arrival. But little things that are present in the business world, we apply directly into the classroom as a way of behavior, not necessarily as an assignment or a project. I think it's important when teaching that we set up an environment that creates an atmosphere for learning for our students, and that means that sometimes we need to explore their world a little bit, and I'm going to speak specifically to the quote-unquote younger generation, those students that are fresh out of high school, maybe 18, 19, early 20s. We have to keep in mind that their generation has grown up with the digital world. They've had cell phones since they were in grammar school, they've been on the internet since they were younger than that even, and so they have a tech savvy that we did not necessarily grow up with. Understanding that, it's important that we incorporate digital media into our classrooms, such as things from Web 2.0, using video. You can download stuff from YouTube, using things like Flickr, using things like Facebook or MySpace. It can be extremely important, and there's many applications to those things. It's interesting. You could lecture in front of a student, or you can show a video of yourself lecturing in front of a student, and they are more likely to be interested in the video of you lecturing them than they are to watch you right there lecturing them. And that's just the nature of how they've grown up and the technology they've grown up with. And so we have to keep that in mind. And so everything that we teach, if we can relate it to a skill, break it down to the skill level, there are actually training videos on the net freely available to download for us to share in our classrooms that a student can, we would maybe lecture, and then we can say, okay, your homework is go watch this video, and it would repeat what we just said in the classroom, and they are very likely to gravitate toward that skill just because it's in the form of a video. And so I think it's really important that we incorporate these types of technologies into our classrooms. And the good thing about it is it doesn't take much effort, and it makes our life a little bit easier, and it just adds the reinforcement to what we're already saying in the classroom. I think it's important as an instructor of higher education to have a broader perspective on what our role is at this level, especially at the community college level, where we truly make a difference in people's lives. I think sometimes it can be easy to just get caught up in the minutia of being a great instructor in the classroom, and I think in order to be a great instructor in the classroom you have to be more than that, and you have to focus on a broader range of things, and it starts with who we are and understanding again what we're here for. And I go back to my mantra, and I believe that my job here is to empower students, and there are multiple ways on campus and off campus that I can do that. And basically I need to have a vision for what I want to accomplish in the lives of my students. And so that means I need to know in the business world, since I teach business, who the different business owners in town are, what they do, what resources are available for our students. I'm involved with the Chamber of Commerce and different service organizations in town. I'm involved in my church. I'm involved in a number of other things that go beyond the classroom, and they act as resources for me as an instructor, but also as a person and for my students. And so having the vision for how all of those pieces fit together and what we want to accomplish on campus is extremely important. Case in point, we're currently developing an entrepreneurship center, and we're trying to figure out what that means. And so we have this vision that people from the community and students can come in to get counseling on how to start a business at no cost to them, have a location where they can start these businesses, even get startup funding for their businesses. And that goes well outside of the realm of the classroom, but it really does empower students. To do these types of projects, I think we also have to understand another resource, and that's grant writing and getting grants, and there are a number of ways to do that. But in my experience, the easiest way or the most effective way to find grants and then to acquire the grant money is to know as many people as possible and have relationships with them, and understanding how to make others successful around you as an instructor is an important step to building those relationships and to creating an environment at the college level that really supports students, and it supports other faculty and staff and administration all together, because ultimately we're in it for the same thing. And by creating those relationships, by having that vision and that passion for what we're doing here, we create an environment that makes a lot of people successful, not just our students, and it's not just about teaching in the classroom.